I'm often asked to speak at women's events where women are concerned about upward mobility. One of the things that I have learned that we as women, we tend to not take up a lot of space in the room. We tend to talk just a little softer than our counterparts. We tend to struggle sometimes with imposter syndrome. I always encourage women to think about how we've been conditioned and to reprogram the voices that we have going off in our heads sometimes. We need to tell ourselves that my thought is valid. We need to tell ourselves that I can own my space. If you think about it, ladies, we've often been taught to cross our legs. We make ourselves smaller. Men tend to be taught to expand. It's very interesting though, because when I realized that, I started paying attention to places I would go with my husband and my two sons. And when we would go to sit down, in particular, my husband would say, I need to sit on the end. And he'd follow it up with, I need my space. And I gave it to him. And then when I realized that that's what I was doing, I, of course, looked at my family and I said, y'all, I'm gonna need to take my space back. Because when we own our space, it just gives us a different posture, internally and externally. So you should probably try that, owning more of your space. Make yourself just a little bit bigger. Another thing that women, we tend to do is we tend to start off our sentences with, oh, I'm sorry, but. Why do we do that? I'm sorry, but. Just start with what comes next. I find that even when I'm writing emails, sometimes I start with, I'm sorry to, and I have to go back and delete that first part and start with the next part. I find sometimes when I'm having conversations with people, I want to start with, I'm sorry, but, and I have to, in my mind, go, don't say that part. Just start with the next part. So we tend to apologize for things that are not our fault. And we just tend to start out that way. Whereas gentlemen don't tend to start out with, I'm sorry. They just tell you whatever it is that they're going to tell you. We also wait our turn to speak. We wait for people to invite us in to ask us our opinion. I don't see our male counterparts doing that. We tend to take the seat against the wall versus the seat at the table. Start taking the seat at the table. You deserve it. You deserve that space. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do as women just to reprogram ourselves. And it's not our male counterparts' fault. We're doing it to ourselves. We have to rethink how we're thinking about ourselves, about our thoughts, about the value that we bring to the table. And we also don't negotiate for ourselves very well. When somebody offers us a job and they offer us a starting salary, we take it. Versus coming back and say, would you consider, and putting another number out there. We have to value ourselves before someone else will value us. One thing I've learned is people will treat you the way you expect to be treated. Trust yourself.